Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin. Wednesday, September 2nd, 2015, on my way to work, and I am really invigorated. I put like 2 weeks of intense coding into Pipulate to get through the hit parade of features that really have to be there for it to help run a whole SEO operation. And I got all the features in, got through the hit parade list, and am starting to show it around. The thing is, having done so much work so suddenly, I think I destabilized it a little bit, and my priority one now is to get Pipulate as close to bulletproof as I possibly can. Now, the way I designed it as a single user web server application means that I'm gonna have to actually have as many instances of servers as there are simultaneous users, which seems a little bit crazy, but that's one of the principles of this design that I will be delving into as we tear it apart and look through it and improve it together on the GitHub free and open source software community, the repository where I carry out this work. And if you go to github.com/MikLevin, M-I-K-L-E-V-I-N, you will in fact see the sort of rhythm and intensity of my work, with dark green being days that I did a lot on the code, light green being merely one commit, might have been an entry in my journal and not Pipulate code at all. But I've been on the GitHub bandwagon for about a year now, and it's starting to really show. I also have some interesting concepts going on in my head about the 10,000 hours to achieve mastery of, is it Malcolm Gladwell or Jeffrey Moore, one of those, business writers and, human principle book people, states that it takes about 10 years or 10,000 hours to achieve mastery in a given topic or subject, like becoming a musician, being able to play piano or violin, that sort of thing. I'm sure it also applies to athletics and almost anywhere else where extreme mastery and expertise is required, the hard-won stuff. Well, I believe by combining the Linux command set with Python, the programming language, Vim, the text editor, and Git, the distributed revision control system, that I have combined things each of which might have had the 10,000 hour requirement on its own. And now let's call it, 3 topics, even though I mentioned 4, Linux, Python, Vim, and Git. I'll call it 3 because with Linux, it's really just a bunch of things from the command line. CDing around to change directories, starting and stopping programs, piping the output of one program into the input of the other, that sort of thing. And it's not so much that it requires the whole 10 years. So let's say 3 topics, 30 years. But because they have such overlap in their languages, environments, what they are, all this typing into a keyboard stuff through terminal software, we can have that 30 years down to 15, or the 30,000 hours down to 15,000 hours. And I am now about 5 years into that 5 years into that 15 years that's going to be required, see? So some of my work is starting to come together, and I'm starting to get the first signs, the little indications that I'm doing something right, you see. And those signs, those indications are the gradual mastering of Vim, the text editor, and becoming more and more natural slamming text around, which is really the underpinnings of a lot of my teaching, or at least it's the first chapter, master text. Be able to move text around almost as if it were telepathic control of that text. Like you see in the movies, when those old school hackers sit down at a terminal and make amazing things happen? Are they holding a mouse or sliding their fingers around a touch screen? Even these days, no, they're tapping into a keyboard, because everyone understands that the nearly direct physical connection with very rigid boundaries of a programmer's hand on a keyboard lets you do more faster, get into the zone, become sort of jostled and disjointed, pulled back into reality less often when you don't have to stop what you're doing to use an interface like a mouse. So let's see, where am I going with all this? Oh yeah, Pipulate. So anyway, it's hard to get into that text-based world. It's a steep learning curve. I only recommend it for the very few who are ready for that level of commitment. And I'm talking like 15 years. And at the end of that 15 years, you'll master something that's likely to be around for a good long time following that. But how to get the benefit of all this quickly, how to get your first taste free. And that's Pipulate. That's Pipulate in Linux. So you can get one of these text processing automation machines, i.e. Linux, onto your desktop real quick in an isolated little box that has everything installed that you need to do this text stuff. A little server for you to log into, a little web server for you to visit from your host computers, your main computer's browser. So basically, Linux gives you the code executing platform on which you can use Python, Vim, and Git. And the beauty there is that once you get frustrated by the slowness of this tiny virtual desktop, it's not even a virtual desktop, tiny virtual machine, text-based virtual machine, you'll be ready to move on to other things. You'll be able to install the same stuff natively on your desktop computer, using things like Cygwin to turn a Windows machine into, might as well be, Linux/Unix machine, or directly natively on your Mac, because the Mac is Unix underneath. And you'll be really comfortable installing server-like software on your own laptop or desktop machine. And if you don't want to do that or can't, there's tons of other easy approaches, like a faster virtual machine on your desktop requiring an install. That would be like VirtualBox, where you can use cloud servers like those offered by Amazon and Rackspace, and even the third tier ones, because you don't need, or I should call them second tier. You don't really need big servers. So you could use maybe Linode or Heroku, or you could use your own hardware, physical hardware, devices, like anything that's capable of running Python. Say, for example, Raspberry Pi, $35 computer, have your own 24/7 server under your control. And Pipulate wires to any of these things, your desktop, virtual machines, cloud servers, Raspberry Pis. And so my education is to get you into this text-based mindset, running applications enough so that you can switch to any hosting environment, Linux or Unixy-like hosting environment, which is going to be around for a long, long time, which gives you a certain degree of obsolescence and relevancy in the tech world, the tech community, for a long, long time to come. Anyway, that is my video for this morning. I hope this is useful in sort of getting down that big picture of what I'm trying to do. And if you made it through this 9-minute video, thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. And don't forget to tell someone else about this little endeavor I'm doing that they might benefit from jumping on the bandwagon.